Cool. So, welcome everybody to Cute for Teams, Champions Using Teams Effectively. And we're here to help you answer your questions. Office hours, ask me anything, all that good stuff. If you came with a question, hopefully one of us can help. And if not, we'll act like we can help, and then we'll try to talk about something else. But no, we're just here to geek out on Teams today. So glad you could make it again. Don't forget, these are all on demand on the YouTube channel, aka.ms/Cute4Teams. You probably know that because that's how you got here. So use your chat or come off mute or raise your hand. All these cool ways to engage in a Teams meeting, but use whatever you need to if you got a question. And it looks like Glenn does have one. Glenn, you want to come off mute and tell us what's up?
Yes. Hi. Last week, we talked a little bit about breakout rooms and how the new features were on the roadmap, but we hadn't received them yet. And we still haven't received them. And I was wondering, have you received any information on the two breakout rooms new functions? One of being able to pre-assign set up the breakout rooms and pre-assign and name and everything before the meeting even starts. And the other one important to us, can the organizer elevate or promote or delegate to someone else the ability to have breakout room controls? Because right now only the organizer has breakout room controls. And that's the main thing I'm asking. Kind of a minor add-on to that is that people have commented in general that before the cloud, Microsoft said, we will activate this on this date, or we will terminate this on this date. And it was pretty much written in stone and everyone could rely upon that. And now with the cloud, sometimes things are announced, sometimes they're not, sometimes we get them on time, sometimes we don't. And that was just another comment of people.
Yeah, and definitely one we've heard from customers as well. So I guess two questions there. Maybe we could address the second one first, which is maybe the, the up and down nature of how things are announced, or if they're announced, and timing and whatnot. I'll just give my perspective in my last 4 years at Microsoft. I'll just say I've seen ups and downs, right? I've seen this that happen well, and other times happen not so well. What I have seen, though, that I think is encouraging is over the last few years I've been doing this, it's getting better, and I do know that there are people making concerted efforts to try to get better. So it's not like an unknown thing, but certainly still got a ways to go, right? I mean, and I think this is coming in this case from this whole breakout rooms thing. It says it's supposed to be delivered. It doesn't sound like you're seeing it yet. I'm actually looking at my demo tenant, which is a GCC tenant. I feel like I'm seeing some pieces of it in mine. So rollout is certainly happening, but has it finished rolling out to everyone, is the question. Stacey, I don't know if you've seen it in your tenant or with your customers or anything.
No, I tested yesterday and I tested today. I think that there is progress. Like I can see a new breakout rooms tab in the meeting, which is where you would expect that pre-meeting kind of orientation for folks into meeting rooms to happen. But it's definitely not fully landed there. So I know that there's rollout.
We can see that tab too, but when you click on it, nothing happens. So I guess, there is something going on.
Yeah, I think the update I heard yesterday was the pre-assignment is in flight, and they hope to have all of the components finished deploying to all of the GCC tenants by the end of next week. I do believe you should see, though, the ability to delegate certain presenters to manage breakout rooms in meeting options. I think that has hit all GCC tenants. Do you see that in your, if you want to, Ricardo, bring up what you've booked, go look at the meeting options You should see a new meeting option there. I tested this with 2 customers yesterday, and it was there for them. And when I heard at the start of the week that they were getting close, they said they should be done by the end of the week. I think this is a great example, though, where this fundamentally does not work like the on-prem stuff, right? Where we would release new features once every 3 years. And yep, you wouldn't see any new features until literally every piece of code had been updated all at the same time. Well, we lost that battle, right? Google beat the pants off Microsoft because they could innovate daily if they wanted to. When we switched to a cloud model, there's 150 some changes to Office 365 every week. And the communication expectations around that certainly are a little different, but even in the old on-prem world where we might say, this fix addresses these 20 issues, it might actually address 200 issues, but here's the big 20 that we're going to announce in there. We've got a lot of work to do to get better on our release communications across the board, from things first hitting the public roadmap to the message center post that typically comes about a month ahead of time for major changes, all the way through the end user documentation and admin documentation that gets updated at some point through that release timing. The feedback that you guys give in that process is incredibly important to improving it. I know a lot of people on those message center posts see that feedback button and are hitting it. If you provide your email address, usually that team gets back to you within a day or two with at least an acknowledgement, if not having addressed your concern right away. That same team that fields those also owns the message center. So if you see a message center post that has some confusing information or it looks incorrect and it references a roadmap item, click the link for the roadmap item, hit that little feedback button, send them a frowny face, let them know, hey, the message center post says this is going out, but the roadmap item says it isn't, and I need to know what's going on. They'll go and start tracking down the parts of engineering that are responsible for those communications to make sure they get clarified. It's not a perfect process. Different teams work better at it. The Teams product group, I think, is probably feedback. But you can directly impact that through that feedback mechanism right there. Ricardo, did I sing and dance long enough for you to be able to play around with pre-assigning breakout room management?
You did. That was was just great. Yeah, I'm not seeing really anything in my tenant, so I guess I was bamboozled by the breakout tab.
There, I wasn't watching.
Yeah, I didn't have anything unique there since I last looked.
Okay. So some GCC tenants have this today, some don't. The three, my demo tenant, the 2 customers I talked to yesterday had it. Ricardo doesn't have it. But it's being shipped. Code is on its way out right now, and it's working its way through all of the GCC environments.
So maybe by our next session here, it'll be there, and then if it is, that'll certainly be probably what we'll queue up to talk about if it is there next week. Awesome. Okay, just looking at the chat, not seeing anything new there. Any other thoughts, questions, or comments? So we can certainly make this as lively a conversation with you all as you want.
Looks like Michelle is typing into the chat. She may have something to either add to the breakout room discussion or perhaps a new question. So
I have a new question, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's an open forum.
I'll type it real quick, and then if anybody has any other questions on the breakouts.
Yeah, I think we're good on the breakouts. I mean, until maybe next week, there's nothing really new to report.
Well, my question might have already been answered. Like when my guys are in audits and presenting whatever, they're doing the presentation, they say they can't see the chat or the participants. Is that true? And is there a workaround or?
So I would answer that a couple of ways. Because one, I'm assuming this is the classic case of like doing a PowerPoint presentation full screen, and especially if you've only got one screen, suddenly you lose all of the Teams interface stuff, right? So for instance, I don't know if I can simulate it here in this demo tenant, but if I
It's not a PowerPoint, if that makes a difference.
Okay,
it's a screenshot.
Yep. So let's like in this meeting here, I'm sharing this browser window. And so what you see Teams automatically does is minimize my meeting. So to that point, no, I can no longer see chat. I can't see the people, right? I get this small window, which will show, I believe, the video of the person talking. But in general, I'm losing most of that interface. And if that's what they're talking about, one simple thing is just understanding that clicking on this brings it right back, right? Even in a single monitor kind of mode, I can bring back the full fidelity of my meeting by clicking on it. And now I've got chat, I've got meeting participants. I will have to manage having the two windows going. And so this is a lot easier if I've got two monitors, but I don't have to lose interaction with the meeting. Although it's minimized, and if you weren't looking, you might think it's just all gone while you're sharing. It is still there, and it's available to come back with one click. So I can minimize it again, it goes back down, click right there in the middle, it comes back.
Let's talk. Can we talk about the two screens, because they both like to use two screens? So right.
So if I had two monitors, for me, I would bring the thing I'm sharing over to another monitor and let my second monitor be for my full-blown, Teams experience. Then I've got the best of both worlds, and that would include even if I'm doing full screen PowerPoint. So two or more monitors, and there shouldn't be much of an issue as long as you remember to just click this guy and bring it back.
My gosh, I think that's the answer for them. Good, thank you.
Yeah, Nasher, did you have a comment on that? So.
Nope, that was perfect.
Oh, okay, I thought you were coming off mute. Yeah. The other way, so I'm glad that's the answer for you. The other thing I would bring up is PowerPoint Live. You said PowerPoint wasn't the issue here, but I will at least say, PowerPoint Live is another way that enhances that phenomenon by the fact that me as the presenter, I get the PowerPoint that I'm presenting here in the meeting interface. So then I'm seeing my PowerPoint as well as the other stuff in the meeting. So that kind of addresses that too in a different way. But yeah, that's the common thing I've heard is people just not realizing that this thing was clickable and can bring it back. And so yeah, in a multi-monitor scenario, in my opinion, Teams, works well because I can just manage my content and see everything at a glance. So I'm glad that was the answer for you. You can go blow their minds now with that, that new idea.
I have a question on a different topic. We've been attempting to use Teams webinar, not Teams webinar, use Teams, and we have a couple of teams, and within those teams there are channels, some of which are locked channels or private channels. So my question is, it's become clear as we've kind of gone on using this process that what we really need is a completely separate team for this project that, we created a channel for. So my question is, can you create a team from a channel? Or do you have to create a team and then try to move everything that was in the channel over to the new team? that's what I did already. And I was like copying and
Yeah.
pasting comments and, conversations and stuff and moving documents. And so I'm just wondering if it's possible to do.
There's definitely no easy button for turn this channel into a team or even copy this channel to another team. There's no easy button for that. What you've done sounds like the way to do it, right? Manually move files over, maybe grab some key chats. So the short answer is no, there's no easy button for that. We're just turning this into a new team.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like missing something before I went to go do that again with a bunch of channels and conversations.
I would ask you what made your team realize that channel was now not appropriate as a channel and needed a full team. What got you to that decision?
Well, we conduct webinars. I've been on here before asking about Teams webinars and all of that. We currently use WebEx for our webinar platform. But what we did is we created a team for our trainers who conduct the webinars, and we have lots and lots of documents that go with that. And what was happening is we'd be updating documents, creating documents that would then have to be copied from the channel to our main SharePoint site, which was created early in the pandemic. So we had a place to store all our documents in a document library. Well, I was like copying things into 3 different places. It was ridiculous. So what we decided to do, our program is called PATHS, stands for PA Training for Health and Safety. So I created a team for PATHS, moved everything that was in the folder in the original SharePoint site over to the new PATHS team, and some of our conversations that had been in that locked channel or that private channel, so that we can now do all of everything involving all of our webinars, all of our conversations about it, updates to things. All of the documents are now all in one place because it's kind of a standalone program within our office's entire repertoire of what all we do. So that's what we're doing. And there's another program that falls within our division's purview that is actually pretty much needs to be a standalone team in and of itself, with that folder that was in the original SharePoint site moved to this new team where all of that stuff is now all together.
Okay. So it sounds like file management was the thing that kind of made you make these changes, right? Managing a bunch of files.
And multiple email threads.
Okay.
That's why I like the conversations. You can see it sequentially in order. You can follow the argument of how you came from a policy to a procedure, etc.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because definitely, two big things I usually see when people that I need a new team concept comes when it's the membership has changed. So I need a new container for a new set of membership, or I need more channels, right? We're trying to do all our work in audit planning here, but I wish I had more channels. We don't have a sub channel concept in a team, so let's make a new team so we can get more channels. When it comes to files that are in Teams, SharePoint, and other SharePoint, which is I think what you're describing here, just want to point out here, you can have a tab to another SharePoint, especially if it's SharePoint Online. I don't know if you're talking about SharePoint on-prem. If you got some other SharePoint Online repository somewhere, that could be linked here as a tab into this same team. So then what one would see is a files tab, which is the SharePoint site dedicated to this team, and then a tab to some other SharePoint Online site out there that is also available and behaves pretty much like the files tab. So that may be something else to consider. You don't have to just work with the SharePoint of the team. You could have tabs to multiple other SharePoint sites here as well. And then suddenly you've got this place where many file repositories are all accessible, in one spot. So just something to keep in mind.
Okay, well, maybe going forward, we might want to consider that. I guess it's because we had so many I think it's a lot of documents. It's we've got hundreds of PowerPoints and all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
having them all together where people didn't have to try to remember, so is it in this team's files, or is it over here in the other, that was the problem too. Where is everything?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Makes sense.
Great. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah.
Oh, and just speaking of Teams webinars, I asked during our Teams office hours early this week about a status update on when Teams webinars would roll out. And we were told that there's an attendance tab because they were talking about live events, and they talked that there's an attendance tab that needs to be added, and before they do that, and only after they do that will it be added to Teams webinars, and then Teams webinars can roll out to GCC, and that may take till the end of the month. That's what we were told then.
So the message center post for Teams webinars got updated a little bit ago to clarify that it's a mid-November through mid-December rollout.
Okay.
The attendance tab is part of that webinars feature set.
Yes.
So you have to, that's one of the 50 different components that they have in there. And that the attendance tab is where you would go and see who has registered for a webinar. So and it's going to also be used for showing who showed up to a meeting and all that kind of stuff. So it's used both in webinars and outside of webinars, but it is one of the dependencies, but that before they can turn on the actual registration components of webinars, it has to have the attendance tab pieces there. But there's 50 dependencies, right? There's a bunch of stuff that has to get shipped into GCC before they're done with the full meeting registration feature set. So it isn't expected to be there today. It's supposed to start rolling out slowly to GCC in the middle of this month, and they hope to be able to be done with all of it by the middle of December.
So what I'm understanding is there was a separate item talking about, I guess, reconciling registration with attendance, and that's what this attendance tab does. It's that feature that reconciles registration with attendance. Is that right?
Kind of. So
Okay.
You know how today you can download a list of attendees that are in the meeting right now as a meeting organizer?
Right.
The ability to see the attendees afterwards is still coming out. And one of the pieces of the user interface for where you would see that is this attendance tab.
Excellent.
So it's a feature that is used by meeting registration, and it's used by other things, and it's got to be there for meeting registration to work at all. So
Yes.
It's just a dependency.
Excellent. Well, that's wonderful. Having those things all coordinated and collated together is what we're looking for too. So thank you for that update. Now I can tell my folks, don't panic. It's on its way. Thank you, guys.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I was trying to share the message center posts themselves so you could see they are being tracked as two separate entries, but absolutely what Nash said is accurate, that one is a predecessor for the other. So we're tracking those, and if there's any updates between now and when we have planned delivery, then those will be reflected here in your message center so you guys can stay up to date.
Tell them you heard it first right here at Q for Teams.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome. In our last 3 minutes, just a reminder, if you missed Ignite, right? Ignite is this week. There is obviously recordings galore. So feel free to take a look at that. Always announcements related to Teams, and including some cool VR stuff, which I haven't even finished all the articles and stuff on that. So I'm interested in that as an Oculus Quest user. But if you are trying to catch up, there is a book of Ignite Book of News, if you're not aware. And I'm glad they do this, because if you go to this table of contents, you will see everything, right? Everything they talked about.
Fabulous.
In this nice table of contents. And so for this audience here, you'd want to blow out that guy in the modern work section, as well as there's one down in the, I thought there was another Teams one in the security area. I thought I saw that somewhere, maybe not, but definitely in the modern work area, there's several related to Teams, and it takes you, to that part of the of this book, and more links to keep diving in on things. So if you do need to catch up like I do, I would start there, and whatever your fancy is, hopefully there's something in there for you. So just keep that in mind.